Hello everyone. You're watching Six Path Weeb, the place where imagination pushes beyond canon and stories take unexpected turns. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we continue our fanfiction series with an exciting new chapter. Naruko x Midnight, a crossover story, Part 4. Before we begin, a quick note, this content is created purely for entertainment and discussion. I do not own any anime footage used in these videos. All rights belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. Now, without further delay, let's dive into the story. Tick tick tick. Tick tick tick. Tick tee. Why do all shrinks have such loud clocks? Toga asked, glancing irritably at the ticking thing on the wall. You'd have to ask my boss, replied Hound Dog calmly, flipping through a thick folder. And I'm not a shrink, just a guidance counselor with some training. Same difference, Toga said with a small shrug. So, are you going to ask me how I feel? Normally, yes, he said, glancing at the squished rubber toy in her hands, but I think I already have a good idea. Toga looked down, then sheepishly set the toy aside. Oops. Sorry. It's all right, he said gently, closing the folder. Let's start with something simple. Tell me your story. My story? She echoed, tilting her head. Like my past? Yes. She hesitated, then gave a small, thoughtful smile. Okay. But it's not as simple as it sounds. Elsewhere, in a bright and carefully monitored training facility, a young girl named Naruto Uzumaki, now known as Naruko, stood in the middle of a practice city. Well, Naruko said, hands on her hips as she looked around at the buildings, this is impressive. A whole mini-city just for training? Nahir beamed. Yep. It even works like a real place, lights, water, everything. Naruko let out a soft whistle. That's dedication. Mirio stretched nearby, smiling. So, Naruko, do you want to practice together? Her eyes sparkled with excitement. Absolutely. I've been wanting to try out some new moves. Nahir clapped happily and hopped onto a bench. I'll watch. This is going to be fun. Naruko stepped forward, brushing a strand of blonde hair behind her ear. Don't worry, she said kindly, this is just practice. We'll keep it safe. Mirio nodded. Of course. Nahir raised her hand dramatically. Ready. Go. In an instant, Naruko dashed forward, not aggressively, but with bright enthusiasm. She moved quickly, testing her speed, while Mirio responded with equal skill, phasing carefully to avoid contact. Naruko paused mid-step, blinking in curiosity as her hand passed right through him. Oh. That's your ability? That's amazing. Mirio chuckled, reappearing a few steps away. Thanks. It took a lot of practice. Naruko grinned. Then I'll just have to get creative. She formed a small swirling ball of wind in her palm, not too strong, just enough to demonstrate control, and sent it gently forward. It whooshed past Mirio, stirring the air without causing harm. Wow, Nahir said, clapping. That looked so cool. Naruko laughed, clearly enjoying herself. Your turn. The two continued their friendly practice, moving around the training area with careful coordination. There were no harsh strikes, only skillful movements, thoughtful pauses, and lots of laughter. After a while, Naruko stepped back, catching her breath. You're really good, she said sincerely. Mirio smiled warmly. So are you. Nahir hopped down from the bench. That was amazing. You both learned so much. Naruko nodded, her expression bright and determined. There's always more to learn, she said. And that's what makes it fun. The three of them stood together in the quiet training city, the earlier tension replaced with a sense of friendship and shared growth. And somewhere far away, as Toga continued her story, the gentle ticking of a clock carried on, steady, patient, and full of possibilities. Fancy trick you have there, the whiskered blonde girl said with a bright grin as she flipped lightly onto a wooden post. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity rather than challenge. Super confusing, but also really neat. I could say the same for you, Mirio replied, landing nearby and stretching his shoulders. You move so fast it's hard to keep up. Thanks. I've been practicing, Naruko said, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Want to try a proper match? Just for fun. I'd love to, Mirio said eagerly. In an instant, Naruko dashed forward, but instead of striking, she stopped just short and tapped Mirio's shoulder with a playful got you. Whoa, Mirio laughed, stepping back. Okay, I need to focus. He demonstrated his ability by slipping through the ground and popping up behind her, waving. Naruko turned just in time, giggling as she hopped aside. "So you can move through things," she said thoughtfully. "That's amazing." They spent the next few minutes playfully testing each other, Naruko darting around with incredible speed, Mirio phasing in and out of the ground like a game of hide and seek. Neither of them tried to hurt the other, instead, they laughed each time one nearly tagged the other. From the sidelines, Nehire watched with wide, delighted eyes, munching on snacks. "It's like the world's fastest game of tag," she exclaimed. "They're both so cool." After a while, Naruko crossed her arms and tilted her head. You're really good at hiding. Let's see if I can make this more interesting." She crouched down and placed her hand on the ground, not to break anything, but to send a gentle ripple through the surface, like a pebble dropped into water. The ground shimmered slightly, making it easier to spot where Mirio might pop up. "Whoa, clever," Mirio said, reappearing with a grin. "You're figuring me out." Naruko beamed. "I like puzzles." With a quick puff, a few identical copies of Naruko appeared beside her, each one waving cheerfully. "Now it's your turn to guess." They chimed together. Mirio laughed, spinning around as the Narukos moved in different directions, not attacking, just trying to tag him. After a few close calls, one of them finally tapped his shoulder. "Got you," Naruko said, her copies disappearing in a soft poof. Mirio placed his hands on his hips and laughed. "All right, you win." "That was awesome." Naruko scratched the back of her head sheepishly. "Sorry if I got carried away." "Not at all," he said warmly. "That was one of the most fun matches I've had." Nehire rushed over, practically bouncing with excitement. "That was amazing. One moment you were here, then there, then everywhere. And the copies, and the swooshing, and the, wow." Naruko blinked. "I think I followed some of that." "So what's your ability?" Nehire continued rapidly. "Is it speed? Wind? Cloning? All of it? That's so cool." Naruko laughed nervously. "It's kind of a mix of things I've learned and practiced. Also," Mirio added with a playful smirk, "she's very patient. That's what won her the match." Naruko puffed her cheek slightly. "Hey, I just like figuring things out." Nehire suddenly reached forward and gently tapped Naruko's cheek. "And your whisker marks are adorable." Naruko froze for a second before sighing. "Everyone says that." Mirio chuckled. "They're part of your charm." Just then, a nearby training prop made a soft creaking sound and tipped over harmlessly. "Do you think we made too much of a mess?" Naruko asked. Mirio waved a hand. "Nah, the repair team will fix it." "Probably." Nehire nodded enthusiastically. "They're super fast." Naruko smiled. "Good. Then I should head back before I'm late." "Recovery Girl's office is this way," Nehire said, grabbing Naruko's hand and pulling her along. "I knew that," Naruko said quickly. "I was just taking the scenic route." "Great," Nehire said. "Then you can answer all my questions on the way." Naruko groaned softly, though she was smiling. "I had a feeling you'd say that." "And don't forget," Mirio called after them with a grin, "she loves head pats." Nehire immediately reached up. "Hey, wait." Naruko's protest dissolved into laughter as the three of them headed off together, their voices full of warmth and friendly energy. Naruko and Mirio winced with sheepish smiles as Recovery Girl lightly tapped them on the head with her cane, giving them a firm but caring look while Nehire stood nearby. All four of them were once again in the medical ward, though this time it was mostly for a checkup rather than anything serious. Even so, Mirio had a few bandages, and Naruko had a small ice pack resting on her shoulder. "Honestly, I can't turn my back for a moment without you students finding some new adventure," Recovery Girl said, shaking her head as she wrote notes on her clipboard. "It wasn't that bad," Mirio said with his usual bright grin. "We were just practicing together and got a little carried away." Recovery Girl gave him a look that said she wasn't convinced. "A little carried away still means you need rest," she replied. "Training is important, but so is knowing when to stop." Naruko rubbed the back of her head with a soft laugh. "Yeah. We'll be more careful next time." Nehire perked up immediately. "But it was amazing. Naruko moved so fast, and Mirio kept phasing through everything. It was like watching a live-action show." Naruko chuckled quietly. "She's really excited about this." Before Nehire could continue, there was a gentle knock at the door. Nemuri stepped in with a knowing smile. "I had a feeling I'd find you here," she said. Naruko crossed her arms playfully. What's that supposed to mean? It means, Nemuri replied, you have a talent for ending up in interesting situations. Another head popped in beneath her, Toga, smiling brightly. She really does. Naruko huffed, though there was no real annoyance in it. Hey, I do not. Still, her expression softened when she noticed Toga looked a little tired, as if she'd had a long day. She didn't say anything, just gave her a small, understanding smile. Nemuri gently guided Naruko toward the door. Come on. Let's head out before you find another interesting situation. Naruko waved back at the others. It was nice meeting you all. Let's train again sometime, just, a bit more carefully. Mirio laughed. Deal. Nehire bounced in place. We should all hang out too. Maybe go somewhere fun. That sounds great, Naruko said. Toga beamed. Yes. Count me in. As they walked down the hall, Naruko reached into her pocket and pulled out a small cloth. She grinned mischievously. If we're going to be a team, she said, we should look the part. Before Toga could ask what she meant, Naruko gently drew a couple of small whisker-like lines on Toga's cheeks using a washable marker. There, Naruko said proudly. Now we match. Toga hurried to a nearby window and looked at her reflection, her eyes lighting up. I love it. She struck a few playful poses, making Naruko laugh. Nemuri watched them with a soft smile. You two certainly bring energy wherever you go. That's just how Naruko is, Toga said cheerfully. Naruko shrugged. What can I say? Life's more fun that way. The three of them continued down the hallway together, chatting and laughing, their earlier mishap already turning into a happy memory. Even Recovery Girl, watching them leave from afar, allowed herself a small smile. Huh? What was that? Naruko stirred awake, blinking sleepily as the gentle hum of the car and distant city sounds filled her ears. She stretched a little and looked around. She found herself in the back seat beside Toga, who was quietly humming a cheerful tune and gazing out the window. Up front, Nemuri rested her forehead lightly against the steering wheel, clearly a bit tired. Toga, did something happen? Naruko asked, rubbing her eyes. Toga smiled and shook her head. Nope. Just a lot of cars today. We've been moving slowly for a while. Naruko leaned forward to peek out the window. The road was filled with vehicles, stretching far ahead like a long ribbon. Wow. That's a lot of people going places. Nemuri let out a soft sigh, then straightened up as the traffic finally began to move again. Looks like we're getting going. That's better. The car rolled forward smoothly now, and Naruko relaxed back into her seat. But just as things seemed calm, a loud rumble echoed in the distance. A cloud of dust rose far ahead, like something large had shifted or fallen. Naruko's eyes widened. What was that? Nemuri carefully slowed the car and guided it to a safe stop. Everyone stay calm, she said, her voice steady. We'll check from a distance. Before anyone could worry, Naruko gently placed a hand on the door. I'll go take a quick look, she said kindly. I'll be right back. In a flash, she moved with surprising speed, but not in a frightening way. It was more like a breeze passing by, soft and swift. Moments later, she returned, helping both Nemuri and Toga step out safely onto a nearby rooftop where they could see clearly without being too close. Everyone's okay, Naruko reassured them with a warm smile. Some people dropped things while moving equipment, and it made a big mess. Others are already helping clean it up. Toga tilted her head. That sounded way scarier than it was. Naruko giggled. Sometimes big noises just mean big surprises, not always bad ones. Nemuri, now sitting comfortably, nodded. Good thinking, Naruko. You kept everyone safe and calm. Nearby, a group of workers and helpers were already organizing the scattered items, checking on each other, and cooperating kindly. Even a well-known hero, Mirko, had arrived, not to fight, but to help lift heavy debris and guide people to safety. Naruko watched with bright eyes. See? When something unexpected happens, people can come together and fix it. Toga smiled. That's actually kind of nice. Naruko placed her hands on her hips proudly. That's how it should be. Everyone helping everyone. As the dust settled and the street returned to normal, the moment turned into something almost peaceful, a reminder that even surprising situations can end with teamwork, kindness, and care. Naruko looked up at the sky, her expression soft and hopeful. Let's make sure we keep doing good things like this, she said. One small moment at a time. Naruko hurried down the sunny street, her bright orange hair bouncing as she glanced this way and that. She had a habit of expecting surprises around every corner, and today was no different. Just as she turned, she let out a small leap. Though this time, nothing scary followed. Instead, a gentle breeze rustled the trees, and the moment passed harmlessly. Ahead of her stood a tall heroine with a confident smile. She wasn't there to fight, but rather to train and encourage. Naruko paused, clutching her hands together nervously. "Hey there," the heroine said warmly, tapping her foot with excitement. "You've got quick reflexes. Want to practice a bit together?" Naruko blinked, surprised. "Practice?" she asked softly. "You mean, like training?" "Exactly," the heroine replied. "No pressure, just a chance to learn something new." Though a little unsure, Naruko nodded. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. The two began moving around each other, not in a fight, but in a playful exercise of dodging and balance. Naruko discovered she could twist and stretch in funny, creative ways, making the heroine laugh in delight. "You're amazing," the heroine said. "I've never seen moves like that before." Naruko smiled shyly. "I just try my best." After a while, Naruko grew tired and sat down on the pavement, catching her breath. The heroine crouched beside her. "That was great," she said kindly. "You've got talent. With practice, you could do wonderful things." Naruko's eyes lit up. "Really? You think so?" "I know so." Just then, another girl ran up, waving cheerfully. "Naruko. I've been looking everywhere for you." Naruko stood up and laughed. "Sorry. I got a little distracted." The heroine smiled at both of them. "Looks like you've got friends waiting. Don't forget what you learned today." "I won't," Naruko said, her voice full of determination. As she walked away with her friend, Naruko felt a warm sense of confidence growing inside her. She wasn't just reacting to the world anymore, she was learning, growing, and finding her own bright path forward. And for the first time that day, she stopped looking over her shoulder and simply enjoyed the sunshine. Dear YouTube family, that's all for now. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your continued support. Regards. 6 Path Weeb.